Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about a little life update and I can explain why I've been missing from YouTube for the last 5 months. So here's the update. We moved. We actually purchased my grandparents' home back in March, and I have my very own studio for the first time in 14 years, not just a desk in my bedroom, and I could not be more excited. So my grandparents actually built this home in the 90s, and when my grandmother passed away in 2019, the house was sold to friends of theirs, and we just happened to see the listing on Zillow, and my husband and I knew we had to put an offer in on the house. We actually lived with my grandmother when we were newlyweds in 2009, which was almost 20 years ago. Wild. And so we already feel very connected to this home. I grew up coming here. It's a beautiful place, and I'm so excited to raise my children here. And I just feel my grandmother and my grandfather here in this house. Just all the little touches that they added. There's a sewing table in the laundry room where I can put my sewing machine, and there's so much storage, closets and closets and closets of storage, and it's just an exciting, different step in our life, which has caused me to be very absent here on YouTube. I have been very active in other places like Patreon, where I have poured so much of my time this summer there. But I cannot wait to dive back into YouTube and provide the simplified, easy to follow content that I'm known for over here as well. Now, because I have been away for so long, it is hard to know how to jump back into YouTube and to know what kind of content you might want to even hear from me. So I thought today we could just start by painting. My advice for anyone who hasn't painted in a while is going to be the same approach that I take for me not creating videos in a while. We're just going to jump in. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're going to paint, we're going to get it on the paper and let it be whatever it wants to be. Sometimes just putting our brush to the paper can be the most tricky part. Once we get it on the paper, we can have fun and we feel relaxed, and then we can move on to another painting that maybe looks better. So anyway, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be back. Please let me know in the comments what you want to see more of from me, and I'll see you in the next video. But let's get painting. Okay. Sometimes when I don't know what to paint, I go for a house in a field and keep it simple. It doesn't have to fill out the edges. We'll just paint a house, paint some grassy field and some trees in the back. So I've got my limited palette of colors: lemon yellow, cad yellow, cerulean ultramarine blue, permanent rose, cad red, indigo, and sap green. So let's start with the house. And we're going to, you see I have my messy palette. I keep it really messy because I can find tans or browns, light colors that I need more often. So let's just go by picking up some cad yellow and adding it into a muddy mixture I have over here. Get a little bit of a tan color. And let's just start by creating a basic house shape. Kind of like your traditional house shape. I don't like to pre-sketch because I want this to be very loose. I want maybe a little smaller section coming off the house here. And then coming off the house here, maybe, there's another section. We're going to keep it, again, fairly loose. To the bottom, I want the yellow-green of the field to blend in a little bit into the house. So I'm going to mix my lemon yellow up here with my greens. But it would just be like a lemon yellow with a bit of sap green. And what we're going to do is just kind of swipe a little bit here. I can even pick up a little bit of cad yellow to warm it up just a little bit more. Now we've got our little beginning of our farm. We could go maybe into some sap green. Maybe we'll do the row, kind of the row of some kind of farm crop, like that. Get back into our cad yellow, maybe add a little bit of that dusty tan to it. You don't want too many streaks with white space. You want some to be very blobby. Great. Now to that, we need a different color while it's still wet. Grab some of my permanent rose into this tan. It's a little bit too rosy. Go back to the yellow. So we have more of an orangey red. And we'll just kind of focus on the side that has a bit more shadow. Maybe right in here. Yeah, I like that. Maybe a little bit. Bring that up a little bit over by the house. And then maybe we do some actual texture. Great. We might not even come back to that and touch it again. Now, the reason we do the house and then go into the grass is now the house feels very connected to the grass, but my house has dried. And so now I can do a roof shape. Let's do this reddish purpley gray. So one of my favorite grayish purple colors is cad red with ultramarine blue. So we can just add ultramarine blue until we get that purpley color. I want it to be a little bit warmer because I don't want it to be quite purple. And we're going to follow the side of the house here, but I don't want it to go too far before I am then creating another shape here. So I'm going to kind of create this shape over here, kind of that rooftop. And let's see, we'll make it a little bit taller. When you're kind of sketching as you paint, it can be hard if your perspective becomes off, but we will fix it. It's going to be fine. So we'll just come down like this, kind of connect those two shapes, but maybe leave a tiny bit of a gap so it looks like the rooftops are coming together, creating, you know, that separation of something that's going on at the house there. A line here on this side, and then a line coming off that side there. We're not going to stress about it being odd. Let's go back into our cad red, ultramarine blue. Now we have more of a purple, so we'll lean more into our ultramarine blue for more of a shadow color. Now, the more you can add shadow, the more that this area is going to look highlighted. So we're going to go into an intense shadow here, kind of on this side of the house. Maybe some shadow here to help define the difference between those spaces. And then let's let that dry. And there'll be a few things we can do to zhuzh it up to make it look a little fancier. Oh, actually, let's take a little bit of that shadow color and just kind of sweep it under the roof right there. All right, I'm going to switch to my size 10 round brush. We're going to go back into our lemon yellow. You could use a bit of cad yellow, into our green. Make sure it's a nice amount of wash. And we're going to just start building a very scrubby tree behind this house. You can help the color kind of come up right to the rooftop. Create some of that texture, have a bit of gap. And then I want maybe a different tree. So let's lean more into our sap green, ultramarine blue. And we'll do kind of a tall tree like this. Ooh, maybe this is kind of turning into Italian, French vibes. So let's kind of lean into that. Maybe some of this shadow color over there. But I love that they're connecting. We can even dip into our indigo just a bit and make sure that this green, while it's still wet, is really shadowed right here. It's going to help that illusion of more intense shadow on this side of the painting. Now let's let the greenery dry so we can add the shadow to it once it's dry. And we're going to go back to our size 4 round brush and add some more intense shadows that will help us really correct what is going on here in the roof. So into our indigo, into this brown right here, we can get in some really deep shadowy color. Let's kind of really strengthen that shadow. I can even bring this shadow a little clearer, but then I just need to fade it out with some clean water. So we can kind of help that. That's nice. We can take some of that color right at the rooftop here, right in there as well. And now that looks nice and contrasted. We could take some of our cad red into our indigo brown mixture here and maybe give the roof a little bit of shadow where those areas are meeting. Maybe a little bit of shadow on the roof here, maybe even a little bit of texture. Just a little something. Maybe this just doesn't have a very good shape here. Maybe we need to get a little bit more shadow. We'll wait for that to dry. I think we need a little bit more shadow where those are connecting and disconnecting so we can get a better idea of what's going on there. Fade that out a little bit. Okay, but I love how bright that looks. Let's create a little door. I'm going to make a bright cerulean door. I think that would be a nice pop. You could do red would be really nice, but let's let that dry. Maybe a little window on each side. If we dip into our indigo, once this is kind of dry, we can help solidify some of those angles, deeper shadows. Maybe there's a door and a window over there as well. That's nice. Okay, we're trying to keep it simple. Nothing too extreme. Let's dip back into our sap green and we will focus on those same type of scrubby strokes, but now focused more on the bottom side of these shapes so that we can have a highlight in our greenery. Just a little bit. Dip back into our brownish red over here. We can add some tree trunks. Ah, I love adding the tree trunks. That always helps take it to a really nice place. Let's add a little bit more detail here. Just using some of those same colors. You can add a little bit of indigo into your brown for your tree trunks. I love when everything's still a little bit wet, because you get that nice little fuzz. Watercolor is such a tricky medium because we tend to want to stop when we feel like it's not working, but all of these different layers and additions as we go along is what really makes it work. We can even go back into this area here and kind of add a little bit more of that brownish shadow. Maybe the door has a bit of a shadow on it as well, kind of from this side. Cute. Let's just do one last bit of shadow on the far side of these trees. Okay, don't forget to sign your painting, your little, and man, that was fun. Let's see, 15 minutes, just a quick little something to help us get something on the paper. Is it perfect? No. Does it have to be perfect? No. That is the point. It doesn't have to be perfect. Probably shouldn't be perfect. It just has to be something. It helps us get out of our own head to create something. We can practice putting something on the paper, seeing where it's going to go, and have fun. Maybe you like it in the end. Maybe what you learn are all the things you would do differently. Thank you for joining me today, for listening to my life update, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.